Nashville.
I used to think the phrase music brings people together was corny, honestly. I didn't disagree with it in the slightest though, but after experiencing my first ever concert, Beyoncé's Renaissance World Tour, I have a new appreciation for that phrase. It's so true. Yeah, I know the pop music fanboy has never been to a concert. That's so shocking. But anyways, I went alone. I didn't want to bother trying to convince any of my more casual Beyoncé fan friends to go with me, and I certainly couldn't justify getting them to spend all that money on a ticket for a show that they may or may not know at least 2 or 3 songs. But hey, this is a Beyoncé concert we're talking about, so you're gonna have to pay Beyoncé prices. But I would argue that she's worth every penny, and she's going to make sure that you're getting the most out of your money. Although I was alone, I met some of the most kind and down-to-earth people I'd ever met at this event. The music is what brought us together. Our love for this immensely talented woman is what brought us together. I'd never felt so safe and free to be myself in a space in my life. And what I appreciate most about Beyoncé is that she goes out of her way to show appreciation and love to her fans at her shows. The first thing she did when she came out was tell us how much she appreciated us being there. She wanted us to feel loved and safe and seen and just enjoy the moment. And that's what Renaissance ultimately is all about, living in the moment and being unapologetically and unconditionally happy. My decision to go to this show was a sudden one. I had every reason to not go. I'd come up with every excuse I could think of. I don't have anyone to go with me. I'd never been to a concert before and didn't know what to expect. I couldn't afford the tickets, etc. But ultimately what drove my decision to go was the decision to stop finding ways to sabotage or deny myself happiness. My favorite artist of all time was literally going to be a mere 2.5-hour drive from my home. I couldn't miss this. It was almost as if something inside me was pushing me to go, and I couldn't deny myself this experience. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I just have to say that to finally see someone in real life that you've grown up watching on TV screens and listening to their music for over 2 decades is really a surreal experience. One that I can't quite put into words. Mind you, I lost my voice during this show, and you can probably tell from, my voice right now. I'm kind of recovering from screaming the whole time. But no, I was screaming and just having a great time and singing and knowing every word to every song, and that was just such a great feeling to be in that space. But there were times during the show where I just had to sit there and just kind of stare in silence and awe of what was going on in front of me. Sure, I didn't have floor seats, nor was I in Club Renaissance in the middle of the stage, but I ain't rich and I don't have that kind of bread on me. How close I was to Beyonce didn't really matter to me though, because I like elevated seating, because in my opinion, the Renaissance tour stage setup is best appreciated from afar. And B, just to say that I was in the same space as one of the greatest entertainers of all time and one of my personal favorite role models and celebrities of all time is just enough for me. And the thing about Beyonce as a performer is that her talent is 100% real. I've never once doubted her talent, her legendary status, but just to see it in real life is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm talking right down to the way that her hair just perfectly blows in the wind. It's all 100% real. What you may think is doctored up and meticulously crafted for public consumption on TV screens and online is 100% authentic. And I'm convinced that this woman is on another plane of existence. The production and the timing of this show was so solid. It's unbelievable. The choreography was just on point. The vocals are 100% real, and that mic was on. I can attest to that. And that's just, it just makes me feel so glad to be a fan of this woman. As for the show itself, this is probably my favorite Beyoncé set list of all time. Her catalog is huge, so it's hard to really play everything without the set list bloating to roughly 40-ish songs and the show pushing 3 hours. I think all the important songs are here, save a few odd omissions. Really the only one that wasn't on the set list that confused me was Single Ladies, just because that was one of her biggest songs and she's never cut it from a set list before. But I think that's really the only big hit that's not on there. But other than that, it's a really solid set list. The Renaissance show as a whole lasted about 2 hours, almost exactly, honestly, and it was the perfect length. Like her costume changes were so fast. I've never understood how female performers in particular can change costumes so quickly, even with help, considering they have to go from like gowns to full bodysuits and vice versa, and changing shoes and whatnot. But regardless, the show has an amazing, seamless flow to it, and even the interludes and intermissions are interesting and they keep you engaged. Starting out, we have Act 1, which is the opening act. The interesting thing about the Renaissance Tour is that Beyoncé had no opening act. She was her own opening act, which I thought was so cool and pretty on brand for Beyoncé, honestly. But during this act, she performs ballads and generally eases everyone into the show. It's a very simple section, nothing too complicated, no background dancers, no choreography. It's just Beyoncé, a mic, and a piano. She opens the show with Dangerously in Love 2, which in itself is so crazy to me, in a good way, considering she hasn't performed the song in years. Flaws and All follows, another forgotten oldie, but a goodie. She also does 1+1, followed by I Care, a personal favorite of mine, before finishing with a tribute to Tina Turner by performing a cover of River Deep, Mountain High. This part of the set list is cool to me just because it's almost like a fake out of sorts. After this one, the show just kind of begins firing on all cylinders. Act 2 is when the real show begins. This is the true introduction of Renaissance. This section of the show has I'm That Girl, Cozy, Alien Superstar, and she closes the act with a pretty out of nowhere inclusion of Liftoff, her feature on Jay-Z and Kanye West's Watch the Throne joint album. I adored this section just for the futuristic vibe of it. Her emerging from the robot suit, which I hadn't seen since the 2007 BET Awards performance of Get Me Bodied, as well as those robot arms that she dances with for Cozy. I love this section of the set so much. I love anything futuristic, honestly. Towards the end of Alien Superstar, she incorporates Sweet Dreams, and I honestly have mixed feelings about it. I've heard a lot of people say that it doesn't flow well or it doesn't mesh well, and I didn't really have a problem with it not sounding well. My issue was that she didn't actually perform Sweet Dreams. She just performed the latter half of Alien Superstar over the Sweet Dreams instrumental. I was so disappointed because when that Sweet Dreams music started, the whole crowd went nuts, and only for her to continue singing Alien Superstar. Honestly, I'm just tired of Sweet Dreams not being performed. She hasn't performed this song literally since the very first show of the Formation Tour, and then she cut it after that first date, and we haven't heard it since. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we just never see her perform Sweet Dreams ever again in full. I know I said Liftoff was a random choice, but in the context of the show, it makes sense coming after Alien Superstar. The quote-unquote aliens are taking off. Act 3 has a real party vibe going for it, and I love it. It's relatively short, but it's nonetheless fun as all hell. This act contains Cuff It, Energy, and Break My Soul. I don't have that much to say about this part. It's just absolute fun and high energy, no pun intended. She incorporated the respective remixes of Cuff It and Break My Soul to the show, which was really awesome. And I will say the crowd going crazy for Break My Soul was very satisfying. That song just sounds amazing live. The energy that it gives just goes crazy live. For my show specifically, she debuted a new pink ensemble, which was nice, but I personally preferred the holographic dress that she wore for previous shows. Act 4 doesn't contain any Renaissance songs and is purely for the songs that bring the ratchet out of you. Here we have Formation, which is notably the only Lemonade song that she does for this show, which I thought was interesting. Someone on Twitter posted a theory that since this show was all about having fun, there was no room for any pain or hurt. Therefore, all the Lemonade songs were omitted, which actually makes sense to me. Sorry to the Lemonade stans out there, but Formation is all you're going to get on this tour. Next is by far my favorite live version of Diva ever. I always look forward to new versions of Diva because she always does something fun with that song on every new tour or new show. This time around, she mashed it up with Lil Uzi's Just Wanna Rock, and it just goes so hard. I was hitting the choreography in the stands, and the mother of four that was sitting beside me was shook. Next up, we have Run the World, My Power, Black Parade, Savage Remix, and Partition. This is the part of the set that she rides out on that tank looking thing, and this is the part as well when Blue Ivy comes out, but Blue Ivy didn't appear at my tour date, unfortunately. In Act 5, Beyoncé takes us to church, opening this act with one of my top 5 Renaissance songs, Church Girl. I'm one of the few that adore this song, but I don't care. Church Girl is a bop. Get Me Bodied follows with her cover of Before I Let Go coming after that. Next up, we have a really unexpected song to me, Rather Die Young from 4. This one was one of my favorites from that album, and a lot of people clown me for that. But hey, she's performing it, so I guess I won. Closing out this act is Love on Top and Crazy in Love. Interestingly, this is the most vanilla performance that she's given of Crazy in a very long time. She performed the song just as is, no alterations, no samples added to it, literally just Crazy in Love as it was when it first came out, just like the studio version. And I'm not mad at it. Crazy in Love is just one of those timeless songs that will always sound great, and you just never get tired of it. So Act 6 is probably my favorite out of the whole set. This section is the one where she wears the already iconic bodysuit with hands all over it and the gold and the black gloves. I love this suit so much. She opens this act with Plastic Off the Sofa before going into Virgo's Groove and Naughty Girl, and she somehow managed to cram bits of Rocket, Cater to You, Signs, Speechless, Say My Name, and Dance for You into this part, by the way, which absolutely blew my mind when I saw it live. Next up is Move, and she finished this act with Heated. And I had my fan ready for this part, and I absolutely tore up the Heated rap as well. I'm very proud of myself. I would also like to point out that at the very first Renaissance show in Sweden, following Heated, this is the part where she would have performed Thick, All Up in Your Mind, and Drunken Love. However, for some reason, she cut these songs after the first show and has yet to add them back. And personally, I'm very salty about that because those are two of my favorite songs from Renaissance. And I didn't get the opportunity to see her do the Drunken Love runs from Dubai in person, but oh well. The final act of the show pretty much mirrors the finale of the Renaissance album itself, containing America Has a Problem, Pure Honey, and an encore performance of Summer Renaissance. This act is very fun, and I love the B outfit that she wore for America Has a Problem and Pure Honey. I prefer the original heavy one, over the newer ones, but oh well. And she closes out the show by riding around the venue atop that iconic Renaissance horse while singing Summer Renaissance. All in all, I can confidently say that this is definitely my favorite Beyoncé tour thus far, and is absolutely worth the money you pay for it. If you're questioning whether or not to go, I highly encourage you to go. It was truly a life-changing experience for me that I will cherish forever. If you can afford it, and if she's coming to a city near you, I would again encourage you to go. But I want to hear from you guys. Have you been to the Renaissance tour? Are you going to the Renaissance tour? What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Thank you so much for making it this far. If you did make it this far, my name is Wayne, and I love pop music, and I would encourage you, if you enjoyed this video and you love pop music, please consider checking out some of my other videos. I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. I had such a great time at this tour, and I just wanted to share it with you guys, and a lot of you guys wanted to hear my thoughts on it. But thank you so much, you guys. I love you all so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. I love you all.